To say we're a supporter shield team. I think we're still a few pieces away from that, but I do think this is a playoff team, and I think the guys come in with that expectation. But at the same token, we're going to have a target on our back, and we've got to get back to work, and we've got to get better. If we stay the same in our league, we'll get bypassed. So we've got to get better at what we're doing.
Thank you. Good
no
luck.
problem. Thanks.
It's almost impossible to keep up with Inter Miami in terms of the stars that they bring in. Like it seems like week after week. But can people expect here something like a big name coming for this season?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's probably a good time to go over our salary cap structure. So for us, our two designated players are Hector Herrera and Sebastian Ferrer. Those are our two designated players. For us to then be able to open up what are called YPS slots, U22 initiatives, which we have Nelson Quiones and Aliu. So if we have those two guys, therefore we can't have a max DP like Miami is choosing to go that route. Or it seems like they'll be choosing to go that route. We'll see what happens in the next 6 weeks for them. But for us, we really only could bring in a young designated player or a max TAM guy that would qualify for designated player status. So if you're thinking we're going to bring in a Hector Herrera or someone in that stratosphere, we're not able to do that without the way we've structured our roster. But do we still think we need to add some attacking pieces? Absolutely. I think we want a little bit more competition up there. But at the same token, this team did really well last year, and we believe we really didn't hit our peak until obviously at the right time. But it'd be interesting to see how this group does for 34 games.
In terms of the depth for not only playing, of course, the regular season, you have CONCACAF champions now, CONCACAF champions and Leagues Cup. Are you happy with what you have and maybe the pieces that you want to bring?
I don't think if you'd asked me that last year, maybe the day we played in Miami, that day I was probably happy with what we had. But I'm always trying to see what we can do to improve the team, and that's not just the guys on the field. That's the staff around the building. We get great support from our owner. But it's for us. We're always trying to find ways to get better. How can we be more efficient with the cap? How can we be more efficient with who we sign, how we sign them? Can we be more efficient with our game model? So I think for us internally, we still have a long way to go where we want to be. I mean, we want this club to be kind of like we were 15 years ago when people were like, okay, that's the team to beat. I still think we'll have a target on our back. To Alex, to your, he's gone, he's disappeared there. I think we'll have a target on our back, but we're still not we want to get to a point where people say that's the team to beat in our league. That's the model franchise. So we still got a long way to go.
A few moments ago, you mentioned that you believe this is a playoff team for sure.
Yep.
Maybe not the Supporter Shields team yet.
Yep.
Having that in mind, I mean, how much maybe urgency there is? You mentioned, you're still looking for more people up front or whatnot. How much urgency is there to maybe kind of try to improve the team to be able to?
Yeah, I mean, there's urgency, but we also want to make sure that we make the right decisions and that they fit well. One of the strengths of this group was the team chemistry. And I think for those of you that saw this group, they did a great job of kind of coming together, and you can see in the goal celebrations. You can see after the games, if you were fortunate enough to be in our locker room after Miami, and even after when we lost to LAFC. This group cares about one another, and that's important. So you want to be really careful with the guys you bring in that aren't going to upset that chemistry. There's a different philosophy, I think, in our league, and especially certainly at this club, in the way you recruit players. I think in Europe, it's often like, yeah, I know this guy's got baggage, but you're the coach. Here you go. Throw him in the locker room and deal with it. Here for us, while I think we have probably the best man manager in the league, and Ben Olsen, and our head coach, I still think it's really important to have guys that fit in with this group and also can fit in with the role and help us get better. So we're really careful in terms of how we recruit, and if we can keep increasing and having more hits than misses with our recruitment, then I think this team has a bright future ahead of it.
As a former player and now in your role in the front office, that balance between chemistry in a team and then maybe talent on its own, how do you balance it, and which one can get you further?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question. That's kind of what Ben Asher Mendelson, the technical director, and I talk about all the time. I think for us, we still see some players that we know we need from an attacking standpoint. I think that that can help us get better. But at the same token, it's important that, as I mentioned earlier, that guy is going to be able to fit in, and he's going to understand that this group, this group is hungry. They enjoyed last year, but they also know like last year is last year, and now it's a brand new chapter for this club.
Last one for me.
Yeah, no problem.
How soon are you looking to maybe make some acquisitions?
Well, certainly in this window. So I'd love to say right now, to be honest, we don't have anything that's percolating or on the midst of something happening. We have a lot of kind of what do you call, what's the expression again? Within the fire, you got goes. Thank you. So we're getting there, but we're not, certainly not at a stage where I'd see a signing imminent in the next 10 days to 2 weeks.
Scott, speaking about that, are there any certain regions where you're looking into?
We like South America. I think it fits well with our club and the locker room, and I think it fits well with our city. I think guys feel very comfortable when they come here, and especially if they're Spanish first speakers or Portuguese first speakers, they feel comfortable in our group. And I go back to the staffing. We talked about that. We've hired 4 new staff. 3 of them are Spanish speakers. Like, it's just important for us to have that culture here, especially when the GM butchers Spanish all the time. So I think it's important to make sure that you have that these guys feel welcome. And it's also a cheaper market for us in the reality. For us to go to Europe and try to compete with guys that are going to top 5 leagues is difficult, whereas a lot of younger players, especially from South America, see MLS as a springboard to the top 5 league. So we're very fortunate. We go down and make these pitches to players there. They see the value of MLS. Good question, though.
On the topic of transfers, do you anticipate any departures? There's reports of Thor being announced for him. Coco's always out there.
I know. We've talked about Coco like we're blue in the face. But for us, full transparency, we haven't got an actual offer at this stage. We have a good working relationship with Coco and his agent. We've agreed on a price and the range anyways that we're all comfortable with. We think it's fair for both parties. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to entice that. Maybe the summer's a better market for him. It's tough in January sometimes. But that's something I think for all parties. Like I said, we have a target that we're going after, and we'll see if that happens. So that's a possibility. Thor, I know that's been reported out there. He's still our player until something like that happens. It's a league I actually visited about 8-9 months ago. It's an interesting market, Hungary. It's a good stepping stone into the secondary markets in Belgium and Holland. So for us, with a player like Thor, if that's what ends up happening, for us, I think it would be really important to make sure that we're kind of protect ourselves for sell-on rather than hoping to get any big number at this point. And does that help a little bit? Yeah.
2 homegrown signings. What does it say about the development of the club and the players?
Yeah, we're getting there, is what it probably says. We still have a long way to go. I think this market is, we're working on tapping into this market. I don't think we're still there yet. I think we've, one of the big things we did last year is we got out of the youth game. I think that was a big positive step. The feedback we're getting from the rest of the clubs in the market is, okay, now we want to work with you rather than hiding our best players. But at the end of the day, we still need to get these guys. It's great we signed them, but when we get influence on the field with the first team, that's when we know we've made it. So, we had Memo Rodriguez who ended up leaving, coming back, and again, if that's our kind of our golden star so far, or guiding light, I still think we need to shoot higher. I think this market can produce players that can not only excel in MLS and with our club, but can go and excel in other leagues. So we're getting there. I'm pleased with the progress, but I still think we've got a long way to go.
What did you see in them in terms of fit? I know that Kieran did back to the
Yeah. So Kieran's, he was kind of already developed here before I arrived. I think for him was he'd worked really hard in college, and it's a great school, Georgetown, fantastic program. Brian Weiss does a great job there. So I think for him, he'd kind of set himself up saying, okay, I'm ready to come in January. He could have gone back for another year, but it would have been almost a wasted year for him. So I think for his next step now is to see if he can break in with the first team. It's going to be difficult. We've got a lot of left backs. It'll be challenging for him, but what we're doing a better job is being more intentional with the second team to making sure there's an opportunity. Okay, if he's not playing for the first team, he's going to get regular minutes with the second team. And I think last year we've been pretty open about it. Brooklyn Reigns is a young kid we have. I think we've done we did a really good job the first year we had him, and then last year we kind of lost our way in terms of making sure. So I think this year we'll do a much better job being intentional with those guys.
How do you do that? How do you
You have more meetings, and you make sure, like, if a player isn't going to be in the first team, that you're making sure he's fresh and ready to go. So he's training for the last couple of days with the second team, and that he's ready for 90 minutes. I think sometimes last year, Brooklyn was in a strange place for us. While he had a good season, we kind of lost out and didn't develop because he didn't get enough playing minutes. But he was on the bench a lot for the first team, and we're in Seattle, and we come back, and the second he's playing on the Sunday. Would have been beneficial. That's the argument and discussion is would have been beneficial to say, don't travel to Seattle, stay here, train with the second team, get 90 minutes on Sunday, and we figure it out in that one first team game. There's also an argument to be had if you're a head coach. You're saying, I want my best substitute player on the bench, and if he doesn't play, he doesn't play. So that's something we have to be a little more intentional with, and hopefully we'll get that right this year.
I have two quick questions.
Yep, sure.
You mentioned Sebastián Ferreira.
Yeah.
How are you going to integrate him into the team? What's the plan? What's the idea, especially after last year?
Get on the field and give him minutes. I mean, I think last year, and to be fair to Ben, he doesn't have the history. I mean, we didn't see him in 2022. So when he came in, he said, "Okay, show me in preseason." And to be fair, Sebastian had a very, very disappointing preseason. This year, I know certainly from the first day yesterday, I think he scored 4 or 5 goals. He just looks a lot sharper. I think he's hungry. I think he's a little disappointed in the way the season went for him. Down at Vasco, he went on loan to Vasco da Gama, and he struggled. He didn't score there, didn't get a ton of minutes. So I think he has a lot to prove in his career. I mean, this is an important year for him. He's still a relatively young player, probably still has another 7, 8 years to play in front of him. But if this year doesn't go well for him, it's going to be difficult for him to be able to recoup that career and get going back where I think he can go.
Do you see him getting the opportunities in the service?
Yeah, I mean, listen, part of it is we have to own it a little bit, and maybe it's playing him whether he deserves it or not, but getting him minutes to try to push him, and hopefully he can get back to that form. But the reality is, I'm never going to tell a head coach who he has to play. That's his decision. That's why he's hired. Will I kind of push and prod? Of course, as he will for me, and saying where are the players that you're saying we're going to get. So, we have a great relationships. But for him, I think for Sebastian, he's got to earn his minutes. And then I think with this group, the way we played certainly in the last half of the season, he'll get opportunities to score. Corey Baird got opportunities to score with us, and to be fair to Corey, did a great job putting him away. Now Sebastian's going to get that opportunity.
Have you
My
spoken?
last one, if I may,
Sorry.
my last one.
Okay,
As defending Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup champion, what's your feeling on the dispute, if you will, the disagreement between MLS and U.S. Soccer?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're in with the club and the ownership group and myself and coaching staff. We back the league. The league is. I'm not privy to those conversations. I don't know the history of what's going on behind. Would we like an opportunity to defend the title? Absolutely. We were proud of that trophy, as the club was in 2018. Is that correct? In 2018, we're proud of that trophy, and we like an opportunity to go defend it. Now, what form that takes place, I'm not sure. It seems like it's not going to be MLS Next Pro. We're hopeful as a club that we get a chance to go after it, but at the end of the day, it's MLS's decision, and we're clearly one of 29 teams, and we will support the league in that.
Quickly, and I apologize, but
Yeah.
fans want this to happen. It talks about anybody in this country has the opportunity.
You're talking to a guy who won it with a second division team in '99,
Yes,
so
yes.
of course I have a soft spot
as a
for it. It's a
soccer
great
guy-
tournament. Yeah, it's a great tournament. It's a great tournament, but I also think our league is now focusing on Leagues Cup a little bit. There's a lot. It's a heavy calendar, and we, as much as we would like to squeeze and spend a little bit more time with the weather that we're actually having here in Houston, but imagine up in north where I can only imagine they're not able to train. So I think we make the most of the calendar, and we make it as big as we possibly can in the U.S. So it's difficult to put in all these competitions and say, okay, our team last year played 50 games, and there were another 4 teams that played more than us. In really in Europe, that's not a huge one, but Europe would also have 6 more weeks of a season, and we just can't do that with the weather. So for us, I think that's probably the biggest thing. What's the health and safety of the players, the quality in the product? If we start trying to jam in another 4 or 5 more games and we're playing 56, 58, 60 games a year, the quality in the product is going to get pretty poor, and we just don't have the rosters to support that. Yeah, sorry.
That's fine. Going back to Ferreira really quick, I'm just wondering, have you personally spoken to him since he got him back, and has he expressed, maybe his hunger or maybe even...
Yeah, no. I went down to visit him down in Rio. It's a real tough trip for me to go to Rio de Janeiro. It was really hard. So I went down to visit him and visited the club. And went out for dinner. Actually, he picked up the bill. It was really nice. So it was a nice deal. But so yeah, we keep in touch. Sebastian's my signing. I went. He was the first big signing I made. I was very fortunate. Ted Siegel put a lot of money into it, $4.8 million to buy him. So for us, it's important that we try to realize the value of him. We did in 22, and we didn't in 23, and we're hoping in 24 that we can do that. Yep.
A little bit off the field. I want to ask you because you lived it, man. The Robertson days, the connection with the city. It's easy. Everybody just says, you just got to win. People will come back. But
Yep.
just where do you see the connection to still get better?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this: the last Salt Lake game, the Kansas City game at home, you could feel the buzz like it was exciting. Hector's first game when he came here against Dallas the year before, it's few and far between. And I think, as an entire organization, our goal is to try to pack that building. I think when that building's packed, you can really feel like this city gets behind this club. Whatever we can do, I think winning helps. Is winning the only answer? No, it's not. You need more than that. I think we do a good job of being out there and being available compared to a lot of other sports. The soccer players are pretty accessible. We're also fortunate we don't have to wear helmets. We don't have to, put baseball hats on. We're guys that are kind of in your neighborhoods and out shopping at Fiesta and HEB and that sort of stuff. So I think we're an accessible group of guys, and this is a fun-loving group. So they are actually probably more accessible than some teams. But for us to pack that stadium, it's important A, to win, and then B, for us to have some sort of attachment. How you do that, I don't know. I mean, we're hoping like a Hector Herrera would do that, and we probably didn't get the spike we'd hoped for at the beginning. But I think the more guys we can bring in, the more success we can have, and then I know our front office is working really hard to try to make sure that they can pack that stadium. We put in together some premium seating and stuff, but that's not necessarily the one that's going to pack the stadium. To pack the stadium, people that are willing to come in week out and support us in those seats and sit there and then be loud. I think that's important for us. But good question. It's a good question. I didn't really answer it because I don't have the answers. I'm hoping we get there again.
How do you get them back knowing that you kind of don't see, how do you do sell knowing it's a playoff team and maybe not your eyes as a commercial team? How do you kind of get people to stay?
Sorry, say that again.
Knowing that
Someone's
they're
actually
not
working out in this building. How dare they?
Knowing that you kind of said, in your opinion, it's not a supporter shield team, but they're still a playoff team. How do you still plan to get that team?
Yeah, I also think, listen, I believe in this group. I do. I believe in our coaching staff. I believe in the players. But I think if you come up here and say we're the best team out of 29 and we're gonna prove that over 34 games, that's laying down a pretty big marker. Do I think this group has it in them? Possibly. We need a lot of things to go well, stay healthy. Sebastian to get back to, instead of a 13, 14 goal scorer, to a 20 goals. These things can happen. I like our group, but I'm also not at the point when I look around the league and look at some of the other, go, okay, we've got a few other teams that we should catch on paper. That doesn't mean I don't believe in this group, and this group can't go win a trophy or two this year. I think we all believe in that. That's why we're here, and that's why last year I think, because we believed in that we actually won one. So if you're asking about why I wouldn't put down the marker and say supporter shield, I think that's pretty bold to be saying stuff like that. I think there's only one team that's going to do that. Same with one team. You will very rarely ever hear me say it. We're going to go win an MLS Cup. I think that's. Will I say I think we have a good chance? Maybe. Right now, I say for us, make the playoffs, and let's see what happens.
Okay, I think we'll close with that. Pat,
Good.
thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thanks, Pat.